Okay, welcome everybody to the Grounded Guidance Podcast. I'm excited today to welcome Val Seolas to the podcast. Welcome, Val.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, Val. Let me tell you a little bit about Val. She embarked on a journey of self-discovery and well-being from a real early age. She's the owner of Munay Place in
hmm
Lehi, Utah. She does shamanic energy work to help you embody your true essence. Munay Place works with 4 processes: release, relate, reclaim, and renew, which I know she'll probably get into, to support the process of coming back to your essential self. Her philosophy centers on the interconnectedness of physical experiences with emotional, spiritual, and energetic, the energy stored within our bodies. So let's start there. Welcome again. I would love to ask you first to get started. What is one thing you know for sure that brought you to this place right here and now?
Great question. Right off the cuff, my soul, my higher self, I really feel that I'm on a soul's path of what I'm here to do, how I'm here to serve, how I'm to be in service to humanity. That's what sings my soul alive. That's what opens my heart. Everything on my path, when I hold it in that context, in that bigger picture, shows me that to be true. So the really expansive parts as well as the very contractive parts, which both are important, but it does feel very much soul aligned. The things that I'm called to do and how I do it and how it's come onto my path at the perfect timing and the perfect way through the perfect people, even though to my small little self, I'm over here going, what the heck's going on? Like, I'm kind of in a moment of that right now, actually, and a deeper opportunity to lean in and trust life. Like, I've been on the soul's path. That's my alignment, and I can trust where it's taking me. And that's some big work, I'll tell you.
It is, yeah, leaning into that. And often it's like this confrontation with the shadow too. There's the shadow side that we're working through, limiting beliefs, self-doubt, things
hmm
that we often all struggle with on this path.
hmm
I'd like to ask you if you could go back in time to the point when you realized that aligning with your soul's path was the way to your highest expression of your gifts in this lifetime, and what that looked like prior to where you're at right now.
Yeah, for sure. Where to even start? I feel like I've lived so many lifetimes in one lifetime. Like, there's been these distinct moments of like coming to that crossroads and making the choice that then takes you here, that takes you, coming to the next crossroads, and trusting that all of it really is part of it. None of it is not it. I grew up here in Utah. I'm from Lehigh. Well, I'm originally from Salt Lake City, but I live in Lehi, Utah, and grew up very religious. I was born into a religious family, and it the religion I was raised Mormon. I don't know, or
Hmm.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That religion
Hmm.
is very encompassing all aspects of life. It is your complete lens and view of life. And
Yes.
I was really good in that very tight container of Mormonism, as far as like checking boxes and showing up and doing the things, and being in leadership positions and all the right things, right? Getting married, having the kids, being the stay-at-home mom, all the things. And in my mid 30s, well, I guess before that, all along the way, I was having these spiritual experiences that did not fit in with the dogma of the church. And
Oh.
so we're just taught to like shelf it, like just put it on the shelf. It'll make sense at some point. And so I just kept shelving and shelving and shelving and shelving. And in a way, it was like denying aspects of myself that were coming up
Hmm.
to really be embodied and pursue, but there was no room for that in the religion. So in my mid 30s, I was married at the time. We went through a crisis of faith, and it started with my husband really getting to a point where he was not able to be in that religion anymore for his own reasons, and shared a lot of information for me. And that was maybe the first stepping off point into my place of truth rather than what was given to me. Was allowing those parts of me that I had shelved for so long to come into, like, it was almost like it was so loud I couldn't ignore it anymore. And then here is the opportunity of really stepping out. And the analogy I've given in the past is the snow globe just exploded. Like the way that I held the world just like blew up. And then it was a free fall. And really, it's when you go in through those crises of faith, and everything has been given to you around the meaning of things and our place in it, and even who God is, like it all blew up for me. And that led me to the next, like, first step of introspection, of going inward. And I stepped onto the path of yoga. And a lot of that was centered around needing something, because I'm such a spiritual person. I needed a spiritual practice. And also I needed a way to connect in the world that felt true to me. And so I really stepped onto the path of yoga. I studied in a teacher training program. I taught yoga for 12 years. And I was given through another spiritual path a different way of connecting in the world, one that was the path of union. Like, how do we really connect inward in our bodies through these asanas, through the movement, through the breath, to find truth in our own way? And it was a beautiful path to be on. And then, as life would have it, I guess I stepped away from that in like 2019. But along the way, I was drawn to different modalities that held elements of spirituality or elements of healing. Back in college, I studied health promotions, which is health and wellness. Like, how can we really come to a place of health and wellness in our own life? And at the time when I was in university, I was also doing an apprenticeship in massage therapy. So I was really learning how the body works, like how to work the body, how to release things through the body. And anytime I worked on anyone, I felt this connection to something deeper, that it wasn't just like a tight muscle. There was something there, and it piqued my curiosity over the years. And then I was like, my soul took me to different things for my own healing. It was really through my own path of healing that has like added to my toolbox. So I studied psychosomatic work, like how do we store emotions? How do we store energy in our bodies? How is it connected into our energetic system through the chakras, or through systems, through our nervous system, through our organs, or through body parts? Like if someone's coming in with a chronic issue in their shoulder, well, we can look at, okay, where are you holding the weight of the world, or where are you, whatever it is, like we can start to look at these deeper things. Like the body is just a messenger. And then I stepped into family constellations, which is a beautiful practice of looking at the family system, and how through epigenetics, actually through our DNA, we carry these family systems of wounding, of trauma, of those more like emotional, energetic patterns that are held in the family system that create the sense of belonging. Religion is part of it. Addiction is part of it, and how it comes out through our lives and how it's viewed in the family system. So that was a beautiful experience for me to go through. And then I studied also like energy and frequency. Like right now I'm in an 18-month-long program with a mentor around how to really work the energetics and the frequency of everything, because we're not just a physical body, we're also energetic. We're part of the frequency, vibration, that's the information that we're constantly connecting, and how can we work with that in a really conscious way. And so through all of this, I was finally drawn to the shamanic medicine path, and it had come up in my life, I don't know, like a few years before I left the church, but looking back at it, I wouldn't have been available for it. And then
Mm-hmm.
in 2019, it kind of called me again. And then I stepped into like that. It got so loud, I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so I stepped into the medicine wheel with the teacher and into shamanic practitioner training. And everything along my path was held in this container of shamanic medicine, and it addresses all aspects of who we are and how to work with energy, how to work in the shadow, how to work in the family systems, how to work with the shedding of old identities, how to really connect in deeper with our soul's truth, our soul's alignment, how to become that conscious creator, how to like claim empowerment in our lives, how to come into right relationship with ourselves and others. And stepping onto that path, it was like every part of me was like, I'm home. Like this is it. And I also know for me, it's probably just one step on the path, like trusting that like life will continue to take me where I need to go. And this is just something that's adding the depth and the container that I can draw from, and to still be open to how life is calling me. Cause my guess is looking back over life, it's not like this end point is like, okay, now I've got all these tools. What's the next step of expansion? What's the next calling? What's the next thing that I'm asked to surrender to, or, come into right relationship? Because I truly believe that's what we're here to do. So
yeah, and it's often like the healing journey too, right? We don't heal and then we're done. It's
exactly.
ongoing. And
Yep.
gaining these tools for your tool belt are ongoing to as you
Yep.
evolve and become this, evolved soul. I want to step back to your religious upbringing and your bravery for because I know there's going to be people that listen to this that maybe you're curious about your path, but that is an incredible step, an incredible bravery to step out of that pathway through your religious upbringing. So I applaud that, and I think that you are a guidepost for so many that maybe are so scared to leave. And I don't speak that from a place of judgment. I speak that because it is so ingrained in how the upbringing is with this particular, religion. So bravo.
Thank you.
Because I think I know you will be a light for somebody that needs to hear that. So that's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So the shamanic healing kind of addresses the soul as like a multi-dimensional being, right? That we exist on many layers of the energy field. We are energy, but we exist within these different time, space areas. When you are working with somebody who doesn't have an awareness of that, how do you seat the body and the soul so there's ongoing healing that can continue to happen? I'm hoping you can pick up what I'm asking.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's meeting who is asking to work with me, meeting them exactly where they're at. And I'm there to be their guide, their facilitator. I really believe that each of us are our own healers. And I may have some tools to help you see in the blind spots or the blocks that you're not able to work past. But really one of my key motivations is how can I empower you in that process of being your own healer? And that's for me through the body. Like we all have a body. Most of us are most comfortable and familiar with the body, although most of us are disconnected from our body and how it's talking to us. But using the language that is available for them, and the access way in is getting them into their body. And I take a client through a process at the beginning of dropping down their awareness down into their body and holding a lot of curiosity, because a lot of times, a lot of us, especially if we're looking for healing, if we're looking for help, we've spent a lot of time like processing and trying to figure out, and we've probably seen doctors and therapists and whoever, read books, whatever that access point is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually trusting that if we go into our own bodies, there's a wisdom of our body that will speak to us and that will show
Mm-hmm.
us exactly what needs to be seen. And most of the time, it gets our attention through pain or through
Mm-hmm.
shutting us down, through dis-ease in one way or another, whether it's an injury, whether it's a car accident, whether it's an illness. And
Mm-hmm.
typically it's to get our attention of, hey, there's something here that's ready to be integrated, that's ready to be released, that's ready to come into wholeness. And the only way you're going to listen is if it hurts enough to disrupt ignoring it anymore. So taking someone into their body and being really curious, and where is the wisdom of your body taking you? And it's sensation, or it's just like a pull to awareness, like, oh, for some reason I'm just up in my shoulder. Okay, well, let's be curious there. What? And I take, into this process of deepening in to just start to bring stuff to the surface. And tap in on a mental, intellectual level of this is something that's held here in a different way than I'm expecting, or that I've noticed, or that I've even been available for. And typically when we go through this process, things start coming up, like emotion comes up or a memory comes up, because the body holds it. The body, in the psychosomatic training I went through, they taught about the body is the wise dome. It holds the wisdom, and it holds the
Wise
pattern.
dome, like the wisdom broken down. Is that what you're okay? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So it's approaching the body even a different way, like coming into right relationship with the body of what is it that the body needs me to pay attention to.
Yeah.
In my own personal experience, back in the day, I was out of relationship with my body, where it was always like my body will do what I want it to do, and it will look the way it will look. And so
Yeah.
I overrode all of the messaging of fatigue, of tiredness, of soreness. And I was in the gym and lifting the weights and running the miles and getting up super early, and it was serving me on some levels. But then my body said, and we're done. And I had my low back blowout, and literally I could not do it anymore. And so that was also part of what took me to the path of yoga. Is now I'm a very physical person, and the way my soul is filled is by physical movement. And so now the things that I've been so conditioned and patterned to do are not available. What's the next way to do that? And so yoga came in, and I practiced yoga, and it was such a beautiful experience for me to connect in my body a different way. But yet that deeper pattern of how I held my worth and my body came into play. And 10 years down the road, the same thing happened again. My back blew out. And it was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like I worked with it at the level I was available for. And then going even deeper, it was like, oh, okay, now I'm ready to see that part. My worth actually isn't connected to how I look. And that came through conditioning through my family system. That came through the cultural conditioning. That came through the just the patriarchy of women. Like that comes through all these messages that were bombarded. And so for me, I got this lived experience, and it's something I still work with. And now, I hold the motivation and intention when I am out doing something, is because it feels good. And I let go of the goals and the check marks and the need to do it a certain way. And it's like, I'm just out to commune with nature because that actually fills my soul. And so it's that working it to the layer that we're available for. And that's with anything in life. It's never before we're ready, and if it's coming up, we can only go to the point that we're ready for. And sometimes there's a quantum leap that happens, and it's all of a sudden like, oh, and that's no longer a problem. And sometimes it's layer after layer after layer. And it's like, why? Why am I dealing with this again? Like, why is this coming up again? Well, because I'm available for it on a different level than I would have been back in my 20s, you know?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. What would you offer to somebody that says, in this day and age, it's so we are a get it done fast. I want it in 2 days shipping. I want everything done yesterday, right? And I think people I don't have time to be sick. I don't have time to heal, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you offer to somebody that would say, I want the shoulder pain gone now? I don't have time to work through the layers of
Mm-hmm.
what it's trying to tell me. Right. And
Yeah.
you have people that really approach their pain from a very mental level, right?
Mm-hmm.
This hurts. What can I take for it? I just want to numb whatever is happening in my body. It's not trying to tell me anything. It's just simply a physical ailment. But
Mm-hmm.
it does keep happening. And there's really a disconnect between what the body is telling you and
Mm-hmm.
um, how we're dealing with it. Right. So what would you tell that person that just says, I it's just it's just pain in my shoulder and I don't have time to heal.
Honestly, I would say, okay, that's great. How can we best work with it where you're available? Let's get you in for a massage and let's work on
Mm,
the the level that you're ready for, right? And life has
yeah.
a way of getting our attention and disrupting us to the point that we're ready. And I'm not here to convince anything of anyone. I'm here to
Yes.
access their higher wisdom or help them access their higher wisdom and what they're available for. And I have clients that I work with just with massage, just with body work, because that's all they're available for. And also, a lot of times when we start working on the physical level, because the body holds everything,
Mm-hmm.
if they're ready, the emotion will come up, the memory will
Mm-hmm.
come up, the way it's been held in their life will come up, and they'll start talking and processing it and working through it the way that they can, rather than
Yes.
me telling it has to be this way. It's like, okay, let's just work whatever it is that you're here for. And I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
convince anything of anyone
You do not. Yeah.
or sorry, opposite. I don't need to convince anyone of
Yes.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I meant to say. It's more of like, how can I be of service of what's true for you? And if you're curious, we can maybe look at these other pieces that could be a part of it. And
Mm-hmm.
in my work, it's a lot of curiosity, and it's
Yeah.
suspending the ways we have held it so that we can be available for something we haven't considered before.
Mm.
And it just, we have to be available. We have to be ready. And I really feel that if it's part of our dharmic path or our soul's
Mhm.
calling, there'll be something that happens that we cannot ignore anymore, where we finally say, okay, I'm ready. And we
Mm.
soften and we open and we surrender and we start working in that place of trust that we weren't available for. But
Yeah.
typically, I feel we have to go through the things before it gets our attention to the point that we go,
Mhm.
okay, I can't do this anymore.
I'm ready.
I can't
Yeah, I'm
take
ready to
another pill.
change. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
ready to change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's really,
the
oh, I was just going to say, I just feel like it's really divine timing, and it's
Mhm.
nothing too fast, too soon, too much, too deep. It's like trusting the bigger picture.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wonder, um I also like to use curiosity when in my
Hmm.
own journey and try to really put on that lens when I experience physical pain or
Hmm.
there's something that's pushing me forward on my journey. I'm curious about dysregulation. There seems to be a lot of people seem to be stuck in this pattern of dysregulation, and they're
Hmm.
kind of really married to the story that is happening in their body with being dysregulated.
Hmm.
Um, and then it it becomes very consuming and the narrative just becomes all about how dysregulated they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems very, from a non-judgmental perspective, it seems very clear, not necessarily what they have to do, but the perspective that might help them free themselves from some dysregulation.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help people take that step that are very connected to, one, their story, and two, the disconnect between the heart and the head and what's happening there?
Yeah. Um, so it depends on the person and what they're available for again, right? Meeting them right where they're at. Like on a surface
Mm-hmm.
level, when I hear that, I'm like, the nervous system is involved, and
Mm-hmm.
working with the fight or flight system, there's probably been a lot of reason to be dysregulated, and they don't feel safe, and they don't feel comfortable sitting in the hard emotions. They don't feel safe in going to that depth, and so there's the story that gets wound around it, or there's the need to numb out, there's the need to hide, there's a need to ignore, whatever it is, and holding so much compassion for that, like that's okay,
Right.
it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And where can we go with this? So there's a lot of nervous system regulation tools that we can work with, because the nervous system gets set in this range of what is normal, and it's been conditioned through the experiences that we have, and it's how we learn how to survive the hard things that happen. And the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system starts saying, okay, this is normal, this is what I'm used to, this is what I actually know how to work here. And then we start needing something different, but anytime we reach that edge, the nervous system gets kicked up and says, like, we don't know what to do outside of this, like we
Yeah.
know how to operate here. And so we actually get like the sabotage thing come up, or we get the identity piece that comes up, or we get the deep belief system that comes up, whatever it is, to keep
Mm-hmm.
us in this range of, I think they call it a range of tolerance. I'm just learning about working with the nervous system. And there's amazing practitioners out there that this is all they do.
Mm-hmm.
But then learning how to create safety in the moment of,
Mm-hmm.
I am safe and this doesn't work for me anymore. This does not work for me anymore. So how can I push that boundary just a little bit more so that I can
Yeah.
start to create safety outside of what my nervous system says is okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's also a piece that I hear when you say that there's an identity that's been formed around who I am with this. And um, it gets to a point where we start identifying as that kind of person, and that
Yes.
becomes how we move in the world. Like, I don't know how to do it any other way, this is just who I
Yeah.
am, this is, and I've said those words my own self, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to a point too of, in the language of the shamanic medicine, we
Mm-hmm.
become out of right relationship with ourself, where it almost becomes more painful holding on to that identity, that identification, or that identity, that something has to change. And so
Yeah.
in shamanic medicine, we call it a shed. Like we really embody the medicine of, in the path that I teach and that I use is Sachamama, which is great serpent. And the serpent
Mm-hmm.
sheds its skin in order to grow. So how do we come in right relationship with ourselves? Well, we have to shed the ways that are actually more painful to hold on to than to step in the discomfort of discovery of something else. And it's trusting that process of letting go of the old ways I've held myself, the old ways I've been in victim, the old ways I've been a perpetrator, the old ways I've been a rescuer, whatever it is that's giving me the sense of identity that actually pulls me out of my power and pulls
Mm-hmm.
me into just we call it the triangle of disempowerment. It pulls me out of
Mm-hmm.
my power and takes me into disempowerment where I can't change anything. I'm just victim to this. Or I get my identity through saving others, and that gives me a sense of purpose. Or what the perpetrator is, that one can be a little more subtle, but like passive aggression. Like I gain my power by passively being aggressive in life to then take control. Like control's kind of at the root of it, and it's safety too, right? So those are like different doorways in when it's with ourselves. And then we can also look in the shadow realms of, okay, how is this an imprint in the unconscious ways? So shadow world or lower world, it's the unconscious world. Like we can't see it, but it's affecting us in the mental belief systems that we were given through our family systems, the way we imprinted on our role in the family, how like in my family, I was kind of the peacemaker. And that was my role, was to be the peacemaker. And so then I started getting value from being the peacemaker, which then actually came from a place of fawning, because I was making peace to create safety. And so like when you can start to look at it and understand it and hold it in different ways of seeing it, different perspectives, then we can go, oh, I can see how I'm doing that. And not just here, but here and here. And it comes out in my intimate relationship. It comes out in my role in work, and it comes out here. And that doesn't work for me anymore. Like how do I let that go and really start to live a different way? And in the shamanic medicine path, we work with the life cycle. Like we go in and we look at the things that are held in the unconscious and bring it up to awareness, and really sitting with it. Is this true for me? Or is it something I was given, something I imprinted on, and I didn't even know it? Okay, then how can I totally let it die? I can let it go. I can put it down. I can practice letting it go, putting it down, because a lot of these things are deeply ingrained. And so it takes a little practice, and then really start to embody something different. So like the subtleties of being a fawner and a peacemaker, they're kind of the same thing, but they're kind of not, you know? And I can see when I step into fawning, it's usually because my nervous system isn't feeling safe. And so I kick into high gear. Let's make sure everyone's okay. Everyone's all right. No one's going to lose their cool. No one's going to get hurt. Everything's fine. Versus embodying peacemaker, it's anchored in a state of being of I can hold this frequency of peace. And without really having to do anything, I just exude that out into my environment, holding that frequency of peace so that perhaps whoever is in my environment can feel it and will start to shift into resonance with that. So they're very different, but very similar too. And it's just like, what is the root of it? Like one is held in survival, how I really learned how to survive as a child. And the other one's held as a higher soul quality, a higher state of beingness. And they're both true. So I get to practice, like whenever I see myself launch into honor, which I still do, I can go, oh, I see you. Okay, you're not feeling safe right now. How can I create safety for you? How can I actually, for me, how can I pull you in a little bit closer? Like it's not, you don't get to be a part of me. I get to hold compassion for you. I get to hold you with love. I get to hold you with acceptance. I get to create safety for you that you didn't feel as a child. And from that place, I can come into that resonance of, I actually can hold peace for myself. I can hold that higher vibration of safety through peace within myself for that part of me. Yeah. So it's just a practice.
That challenges a lot of assumptions, right? That you have when you create those safety nets, right? As a kid, that everything will be okay when, or, as a peacemaker or a fawner, right? Everything will be okay if I make sure the environment is this, this, and this. And then stepping in and embodying the peacemaker within you, you are resonant with who you are and allowing everybody to find their resonant match based on that. It's a very powerful process. I'd like to talk a little bit about the somatic experience, like in the massage the shamanic massage that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Somatic experience is so important to tapping, our body keeps score, right? And it's
Yep.
so important to understanding kind of what is held there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll just kind of leave it open for you.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Before we go there, I just want to add to the last discussion that
Yeah.
through the experience of being a fawner, I developed some really beautiful gifts of becoming very empathic, of being able to read the room, of being able to understand on a different level than what I was seeing. That's empathy, right? And because of the shadow, if you will, my gift was able to be claimed. And so that is another
Mm-mm.
really important piece of this is I'm not victim to the things that happened that created that need to be a fawner. It was actually serving me in developing my empathy and developing that ability to hold um, that higher resonance or that higher expression of it, of peacemaker, of really embodying that. So I just felt that was important to put in.
Yeah. Before you move on, I wanted to ask you about the epigenetics of holding, identifying yourself in a family system, right? A certain
Mhm,
way. And then being able
mhm.
to identify yourself differently as you're moving through this healing portal, whatever that may
Yeah.
be. Um, but in my own journey, I have felt like I often stand on the shoulders of, I can feel in my bones some of the things, some of the ingrained patterns that I know I have brought forth through so many people in my lineage. Right.
Mhm.
And so part of this work that you do and that I have done personally is to like face head on and have a conversation head on with, well, why are you doing it that way, or why has it always been that way,
Mhm.
or why has that tendency been brought to the surface, and just
Mhm.
challenging what I know, and kind of disrupting
Mhm.
the pattern that's been brought forth because that's the way it's always been done, or that's the way it's always been brought through. But that has been really pivotal on my journey for the things
Mhm.
that I can just feel it in my bones when it's not from this lifetime or from me, but it's
Mhm.
from the shoulders of those that have come. I stand on the shoulders of those that have come before me, and I have great reverence for that. But it can be very disruptive, to
Mhm.
how I want to live my life and how I want to move forward. And these patterns, they show up in the strangest spaces and ways. And but we have the power, epigenetics. We have the power to choose something
Yep.
different. We can try on a new way of believing. We can try on a new way of, and we can impart that change into our genetic makeup, right? And
Mhm.
so I think
Yep.
that's super powerful with the family constellations and identifying. I have also done that. How I was growing up, I was a fawner as well. That was
Mhm.
making sure I could read a room instantly. I could figure out what my space was in that room. I knew how everybody felt before they even walked in the room, right?
Mhm.
But like you, I've also taken on maybe not so much the peacemaker, but more of, I have deep reverence for the peace and the stillness, within my body now.
Mhm.
And that's just
Mhm.
what I carry forward into a room, not with no expectations on if somebody else is happy or what they bring to the space. So it's a very
Yeah.
powerful practice.
It is. And what's beautiful is because it's on that epigenetic level, you're actually
Mm.
changing that fractal of energy held in the DNA. So that pattern
Mm.
does get disrupted. And what is carried forward actually holds a different resonance, a different availability, a different possibility. And that's not to say that in family systems, it comes from our karmic patterns, like the things that the contracts that we hold to really fulfill those higher agreements that are part of our lives. And so how it looks for you may be very different than someone else in the family system based on
Yes.
those soul contracts, those karmic patterns that you personally are here to work out. And then you carry that now in your DNA, and time and space are non-linear, and they're all happening at the same time. So you're shifting it through the dimensions of time.
Yes.
So it can be held differently for yourself personally, for your children, for their children. And there's a
Yeah.
collective piece. Our own healing is actually
Yes.
shifting the collective wounding that we all hold. And then also on a bigger level, we're opening up opportunities for humanity to engage in a different way. And it's such a beautiful ripple effect. And sometimes we never even see it. Like we don't even know the profound effects that we have on that energetic level of the work that we are
Oh,
called to do.
absolutely. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you brought that up. I think that if you could take one thing away from this conversation, it's that it's the in, incredible ability that starts with you that can make this ripple effect out on so many layers energetically,
Mm-hmm.
to your past self, to your future self, to the self that's existing in the same dimension but an alternate reality, right?
Yeah.
It is, yeah, it I sit here and pause because being multidimensional is just something that, oh yeah, of course we are. But then when I sit and think about it's really
Yeah.
astounding, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I love to go real big picture and way out there, but if we even looked on a galactic realm of
Mhm.
the DNA of the energetic coding that we're holding, we're
Mhm.
affecting it there. And then if you look at the whatever your beliefs are around God, or the all of everything, as we're doing this
Right.
work, we're also expanding and contracting and moving and shifting and evolving all that is, and so
Yes.
it can get,
Oh, that's beautiful. I
yeah.
just that just makes me, yeah. When I think about healing, which is when you're in the messy middle and it's hard and it's
Hmm.
tearful and it's, you're moving through emotions that aren't real comfortable.
Hmm.
The healing is not meant to be a perfect linear journey, right? But
Hmm.
talking about the impact on a fractal level, oh, that makes me so excited, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. We really do have the ability to do that. And
Hmm.
we have to start seeing ourselves in that capacity.
Yeah.
Um, and why this work is so important.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel too, a big piece of it is allowing it to be what it is. Like I
Mhm.
know it's so easy to get like addicted to the healing path and
Yeah.
come from this place of brokenness. Like I'm broken and I need to be fixed. And
Yes.
it's so not true. Like
Mhm.
um it's really allowing this co-creation with
Mhm.
life. To life, it's a surrender into the divine orchestration of life, the divine timing of life, and um trusting that everything has its own rhythm, and we're in this greater web of life, and life is its own thing, and we're just a
Yes.
little tiny piece of it, and yet we're
Mhm.
also weaving our own individual thread, and it's both. And I know for me sometimes I get a little overwhelmed at
Mhm.
the big, like I can almost get too big picture with it of the impact, or like, and I'm not doing enough, and it's like, okay, just relax. Life
Mhm.
has got you, and the way it
Yeah.
shows up is perfect, and it's gonna move me in the perfect timing. And that's my practice right now personally, is a deeper surrender, a deeper trust, a deeper layer of letting go, because I
Yeah.
have been so controlling in
Hmm.
different ways, and some are
Yeah.
pretty in your face, and other ways are real subtle. And so
Sure.
life is asking me right now, I got, like, I've got you, but I need you to let go. I need you to let go.
Mm.
I need you to surrender even more, to the point that you don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't even know what's going to happen. Like, I can't look at my calendar and, well, I can look at my calendar and get fear around it. Like, oh, how is this going to work with,
Yeah.
all the pieces that are moving, and money, and like all the mundane 3D stuff. And I can
Right.
get overwhelmed and shut down. And then I get into high control mode. Or
Yeah.
I can remember, life's got me.
Hmm.
Life's got me. And however it plays out is exactly how it's supposed to play out. And I get to just be in the moment. And that's actually where the magic happens. That's
Hmm.
actually where we tap into our creative ability, is right in this moment. And
Yeah.
all I need to do is show up for this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment, and trust that
Yeah.
each moment is going to take me forward. And the other practice that's coming in for me is
Mhm.
really trusting the things that like light me up, that make me
Mhm.
excited, that like ignite my inner passion, my inner
Mm.
excitement, because that's where the juice is. And rather
It
than my
is.
old
Yeah.
way of, I've got my list of things to do and I just have to get through it, it's kind of just
Yes.
another form of, my body will do what I want it to do. Life will do what I want it to do. If I just do these things, then life has to show up. And it's like life is saying, we're not doing that anymore. This is not the way we're operating. Because all I'm doing is like taking what was from the past and
Yeah.
projecting it forward. And so all I'm going to get is what was in the past. I'm just going to get different
Right.
forms, different versions, different expressions of what has been. And I feel like where we're at in humanity, like there's just, we're moving into a new age, like from Pisces, from this place
Mhm.
of
Age of
duality
Aquarius. Yep.
into Aquarius, right? Which is
Mhm.
um how we are all connected as one, in that
Mhm.
awareness of our interconnectedness in our individuality.
Mhm.
Um and so we don't know where we're going. We haven't been there before. And so we have to be available in the present moment for life to take us there, and give up the
Mm.
control, give up the need of it looking a certain way. And like when I look back on my life, I
Mhm.
never would have thought this is where I'd be sitting
Yeah.
today. This was not the
Yeah.
path that I saw.
Yeah.
But with the perspective of today, everything that's happened, the good and the bad, the beautiful and the hard, the love and the heartache, it's all perfect, because
Mm.
this is who I am today, and this is what I'm in service to, and this is what I'm available to say yes for. And
Mm.
so it's just keep trusting that, like that
Mhm.
perfection of life, and that I don't have to control it, because I actually can't.
Mhm.
And it sure
Yeah.
takes a whole bunch of life force energy trying to. And that's another way that we can really get shut down, is just needing to control so much. And that creates the dysregulation, that creates the lack of safety, that creates the um,
Yes.
really working against yourself.
Yeah. Those are all really important points. It's hard this day and age with so much happening at our fingertips with our phones and
Mm,
the need to keep up and do. We're busy moms, we're busy employees, we've got to do. And the focus is less on being because we just don't have time to be. We have to
mhm,
do. We have to do more. We have to show up and do. Otherwise, we are going to let ourselves down and let all these people
mhm.
down. Um,
Yeah.
Arriving at that moment of stillness where you just simply surrender to what's happening right now and flow into that moment. Um,
Mhm,
there is so much magic in that moment.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
much magic in
Yeah.
resting into that moment. I learned recently, we don't need to take this down the human design path, but I did a little human design work recently, and I learned about, I'm a 4/6 projector, and I learned that the most important thing for projectors is to wait for the invitation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a confirmation for me, because being extremely psychic and intuitive, I get so many messages, but
Yeah.
if you act at the wrong time, if you don't surrender and act at the wrong time, there's this misalignment that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really resting in and waiting for the call, waiting for the invitation, waiting for somebody to, invite. It really
Mm-hmm.
became a powerful practice. And it's funny, I mean, over the course of my life, bringing stillness in and bringing contemplative practices in happened years ago. But it was funny to kind of watch that confirmation, because it is so easy to be sucked into, what is the world doing right now that I need to keep up with, or that I'm missing
Mm-hmm.
out on? Um, and finding your own path through that allows you time and space to just be in the moment is um, really where the magic happens, rather than trying to
Mm-hmm.
check off your list every day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually feel it's a big part of the evolution of humanity, and it's
Mm.
coming into less doing and more being. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the doing is rooted in that patriarchal programming
Yeah.
of needing to prove your worth, needing to whatever it is that serves that
Yeah.
system of slavery, that system of taking you out of your power, out of your own ability to create the life that you want, that feels most aligned for you. And
Mm.
for me personally, it's a practice of really allowing myself to be in the moment, and then
Mhm.
trust that the action comes through that moment of what
Yeah.
to then do, because we still need to do, like, we still that's just a part of being on the planet, in a 3D world. Like, there still are things to do, but it's giving ourselves permission to actually prioritize play, to actually prioritize rest, like to actually
Yeah.
prioritize self-care. And the reason for that is because then we get to a point where we can actually be available to be more who we are. But if we're always
Mm.
like running ragged from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and checking the boxes and crossing them off, and like, we're too exhausted. We're not even
Mm.
available for that co-creative flow
Yeah.
that can just come through at any time. So it's been a big practice for me lately, just to prioritize.
Mhm.
Like, I don't start usually with clients until a little later in the morning, because I need that time in the morning to
Yeah.
really have time to connect within myself, take my dog out for a walk, because movement's important for me,
Mhm.
to get myself to a place that I can then be the most available for whoever's coming through the door. That's me personally.
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
everyone's different, and that was not who I was 20 years ago, but that's who I am now, nearing 50. Like, my life has shifted to that point. But if
Mhm.
I'd kept trying to do how
Mhm.
I used to be, it it would be so out of alignment for now. I would just be
Mhm.
exhausted and unavailable for vibrancy and vitality. Like, it's just not my higher truth at this moment. So I
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
that's
it
important that you have recognized that, right? And that you've
yeah.
acknowledged that part of who you are, so you can live your highest truth, show up in service to people, show up in service to people's healing journey and their own evolution. I
Yeah.
think it's one thing to practice these things, but like
Mhm.
you said, you have to live them, right? If
Yep.
you're spending an hour on your mat a day, but then your every response comes from an angry place, there's more
Mhm.
time that you need to spend with what's happening right on the mat, right? There
Yeah.
has to be this fluid flow between
Mhm.
your practice and then the execution in your life.
Yeah. And it's different for everyone, right? So
Mhm.
my truth is not your truth, is not
Mhm.
someone else's truth. And really learning how to tune in to what's true for you and
Mhm.
create life from that place and giving yourself permission to actually live from that place. To
Mhm.
me, that's empowerment. That's really claiming our creative ability in life. And it looks different. Like
Mhm.
it's different for everyone. And how
Yeah.
beautiful is that? Like we don't need to be all the same. And how could we be? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I really love that. Can you talk a little bit about, I don't know how to pronounce it, but you talk about something AYNI. How do you say
Hmm.
that? Aini?
Aini. Yep.
Aini.
Aini, it's the Quechuan word, which is the Peruvian tradition that comes from the Quechuan people of Peru. Aini means right relationship. How am I
Mhm.
in right relationship within myself? How am I in right relationship with those around me? How am I in right relationship with life? How am I in right relationship with nature? And right relationship puts us in this flow of exchange that's balanced,
Mhm.
that is the giving is the receiving is the giving, where it's a co-creative piece. I'm serving my place of truth, you're serving your place of truth, and then from that place we are in right relationship.
Mhm.
It's a huge piece of shamanic medicine because it's an alignment
Mhm.
within. And unless we're in that place within ourselves, we'll feel it outside of us. Life will start to rub. It'll start to feel hard. It'll start to feel like it gets under your skin and just starts to like irritate, and then we start to react. And so when we get into those places of reaction, we can go, okay, what's out of Aini? What's out of right relationship? And
Mhm.
how can I shift what's inside to then affect everything outside? Because I can't change anything outside of me, but I
Right.
can change how I'm in relationship to it. And I love that because it's so empowering. Like, um, another part of this is holding things in different perceptual states or different
Mhm.
layers of truth. And
Mhm.
holding things at a physical, literal level, we can be victim to something. Terrible things happen in this world, and we can be victim to it 100%. But then when we can hold that as true, and then we
Mhm.
can shift our perceptual state to
Mhm.
more of the mental emotional level and see how it's held there. Okay, what, like I was saying, our shadow, the hard things, there's gifts there. Our soul
Mm.
cultivates gifts through those really hard things. And this, like, it takes some work. Like, it takes
Mhm.
some work and some guidance. But say I'm in this dynamic in a relationship and my pattern has been always making it about the other person. That was my
Mm.
20-year marriage. I was always like blaming my husband for what I was unhappy for. And on a physical little level, that there were some things that were true about that. But then when I shift the way I view it, I put on a different lens, and on a mental emotional level, oh, I was starting to learn these things, these gifts, these ways of cultivating deeper awareness, deeper
Mhm.
independence, deeper whatever it is. And then from another level, I could see it from a soul level. Well, I can see the soul contract of why we were actually in that relationship,
Mhm.
because of the things that I learned from it, the things that he learned through it, our kids and what they were imprinted on, and now what they get to learn from it. So it's holding at a different level and then pop it up to the energetic frequency. Well, I can see how it served my family system, the experiences I went through in my marriage, how it served the collective around divorce, the way we navigated divorce. I can see how it served like all these different pieces. So it's kind of that ripple effect again. So at any of those levels, we can come out of Aini, we can come out of right relationship. So the work, my perspective is, how do I go inward and
Mhm.
see where the rub is within me so
Mhm.
that I can come to that that different way of holding it, that different way of viewing it, that different way of being in relationship to it, so that I can
Mhm.
come back into right relationship with myself or the other.
So how do you practice Aini? What can you share a tool that somebody could do if they can go inward and identify a rub and see all of this? They can see the perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
example you gave was perfect. But
Yeah.
what is something to move through that, or move along, I guess, not through it
Mm-hmm.
because it's ongoing, right?
Right. Yeah. I think the first part is just that curiosity, like really
Mm.
being curious about it. There's a lot of different practices. For me, it's like somatic movement, like getting into
Mm.
your body and where is this held? Like where am I breath sound movement? Where is my attention drawn when I hold this focus of this thing that's rubbing me? Like, ooh,
Mm.
it just gets under my skin. Okay, I'm going to be really curious. Where do I actually, when I hold that intention, where do I feel that? Well, I actually
Mm.
feel it like right underneath my right ribs. Okay, so I'm going to bring all my attention right to that. And I'm just going to start breathing. I'm going to start softening. I'm going to start being open to whatever's rubbing there. And
Mm.
it doesn't have to be rational. It doesn't have to, you don't always have to know. You don't always have to understand. But then bringing that awareness to it and then giving it permission to start moving through your breath, through your sound, through your body,
Mm.
helps that energy start to move and dissipate or come into different awareness or come into a different expression. And it may take a while. So it's also like this patience with it of, I'm okay. I'm okay with this being uncomfortable for a while. And that's practice too, right? Especially for us pleasers. Like we want everything to be fine all the time. But
Mm.
it may be okay that it feels uncomfortable for a while. And then if we get to that like place that we just get stuck, there's so many amazing practitioners that can help guide into that blind spot because it might be something that you can't access on your own. It may be held in
Right.
the subconscious realm that just needs some help getting teased up. And you'll know. It's like trusting yourself, trusting that part
Mhm.
of you that holds the wisdom, that deeper inner physician. They call it in craniosacral therapy. That inner
Mhm.
physician, that inner guide, that inner wise one. Like if you're open for it, it'll come. It'll come, and you'll feel it, and
Mm.
you'll go, "Oh, that's what I need today. I actually need to go for a
Mm.
long walk in the woods and sit under the tree by the stream."
Mm.
And just be present here. Or I need to go get on my mat. Or I need to actually just take a half day off of work and let myself be in bed. Like whatever it is, like the answers will rise from inside. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. Is that the focus of the shamanic healing that you do, that our bodies are innate healers, and that
Yeah.
it's about realigning the path of the body into a homeostasis space
Yeah.
to connect and heal?
Yep. And like in anything, it's like that. It's always going around the wheel. Like
Mhm.
it's always being available for that next layer, that next right relationship, whether it's with ourself or with the other, and then being available for those higher aspects to come in as we work with the density, the heaviness, the things that we've
Mm.
held. As we work with that and release it, then we're actually more available for more soul to come in, more
Mm.
of those higher frequencies to be embodied. But we got to work with the blocks. We got to work in the shadow. We've got to sit in the
Mm.
uncomfortable. We've got to, I feel it's learning how to hold a lot of compassion for those parts of us that
Mm.
are hurting,
Mhm.
um, and how to soften in and how to reclaim ourselves even there. Like how do I even love this? Those
Mm.
unlovable pieces. How do I love even this? And that's wholeness. Like that's wholeness. It is
Mm.
all of it is contained in what I believe everything, all of everything. Like there's nothing that's not divine.
Yeah.
And it's learning how to be holding compassion for those parts of us that are the rub, right? So if we go
Mm.
in like really wanting to fight it,
Right.
I think we'll just get more of it. But my
Yeah.
experience is the
Resistance.
more we can soften into it and open up to it and feel what needs to be felt. And that doesn't mean that we need to go back into trauma. It just means there's
Right.
something there being held somewhere in our body that just needs some expression. And it could be tears, it could be words, it could be laughter, it could be dance, it could be movement, it could be anything, but just being available for it and holding it in this place of compassion, that you get to be here too. You're a part of me and you get to be here too. And I really feel like that's another aspect of moving into the age of Aquarius, is also claiming all parts of ourselves, not holding ourselves in duality anymore of this is
Right.
of God and this is not acceptable. It's actually, it's all divine. The divine is everywhere and everything. Like there's nothing that's not divine. It's in the profane and the profound. And how do I claim all parts of me? So from that place, I can be of the highest service. Yeah. And then
I
I'm
feel
not
like I need to
judging
say
anything
amen.
outside of me.
It's like, I feel like I went to church.
Well, you're welcome.
No
Well,
pun
you can tell, like,
intended.
so I get so passionate about it, like I'm all flushed. But yeah,
Oh, I love
it's
it.
something I really get excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what really sat with me was the rub. That's how I feel it in my body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really try to bring awareness to what is that rub, right? And I am not perfect. I don't do it real well a lot of days, but it really has been an eye opener on my journey to
Mm-hmm.
just kind of step back and see in the moment what is rubbing. And usually it's after the fact. I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I need to maybe approach that a little different next time, or have. And it is hard. I mean, it sometimes takes 15 times with one issue, right? That just keeps,
Yeah.
but like you said, you can't meet the rub with more rub, because then you create a lot of friction, right?
Yep.
So softening into
Yep.
that is so important. It's so important, and it's so necessary. That self-compassion,
Mm-hmm.
right? The holding ourselves in a space that we don't have to be perfect or not perfect, right? We are not
Mm-hmm.
perfect beings, and that is perfectly perfect, right? It's just the way we're designed. Some would say the other way. Some would say we're perfect and divine just the way we are. But yeah, it's an interesting journey.
Yeah.
So how can people find you, Val?
The best way is come to my website. It's munayplace.com. And I just wanted to share, you'll see it on my website. Munay is a Quechuan word for the totality of love. And so the frequency of my business is, how do you come into that place within yourself? How do you really feel, see, claim that you are the totality of love? That is your divine essence, exactly as you are, not in some like future self, but in this moment. And from that place, come deeper into that more authentic expression of who you are, that deeper claiming of who you are, like you said, perfectly imperfect. And then in that state of being, you take that frequency out into the world, that sense of wholeness, like that sense of um, perfect right now. And if there's some things that are rubbing that just do not feel good, let's look at it, and how, and what needs to be integrated, what needs to be embodied, what needs to be seen with new eyes, what needs to come into Aini, into a deeper sense of right relationship. So come to my website, munayplace.com. I've got a place there you can schedule a free consultation and we can have a chat. I have some services that I offer. Some are in office. I do a shamanic massage, which we approach it from both energetics and body work, which is a beautiful thing. And then also I do remote sessions, because time and space work outside of needing to be together, right? We can work outside of time and space. That's what I was trying to say. And so I have some shamanic sessions that I offer. And then my newest awareness around it is how important integration work is, because we can go have a really amazing healing session And then unless we embody the
Mm-hmm.
change, unless we really integrate the piece that we're working with, nothing changes. And we
Yeah.
just go back to life as normal. And then we go, wait a minute, why is this happening? I thought I just had this really amazing session. Well, something just didn't get integrated. So my integration packages are designed to help support people um, through either a month long process, or we do a deeper dive into 3 months, which there's some flexibility around that as far as like the time around it, because healing takes the time that it takes. But
Mm-hmm.
in those integration packages, I offer support through we do a shamanic session to kind of tease out what we're working with, what needs to be embodied, and then we'll meet weekly for an hour call or an hour face to face to see what's coming up. Like, what now that I am really wanting to integrate this into life, where are the challenges and how can I support you in deepening in? Also, daily practice is really important in
Mm-hmm.
embodiment work, because unless we really bring it into the way we move, the way we behave in life, nothing changes. So, I offer like a daily specific to you, what came through your session.
Mm-hmm.
I'll record like a journey or a meditation or a somatic movement practice to really deepen you into that embodiment work.
Mm-hmm.
So those are on my website as well. And then I am on Instagram and Facebook. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. So I'm starting to put a little more content out, just so people get to know me and my work. But really, like, if you're feeling drawn to me, set up a call and let's have a conversation and see if we're a good fit. And if
Mm-hmm.
not me, I love networking, and I've got different like practitioners that I love to also collaborate with and cross what's the word I'm looking for, recommend. I've got
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that could be available. If it's not we're a good fit, then I'm pretty sure I could probably direct you to something that might be more
That's
in
wonderful.
alignment. So yeah.
Yeah, I have to acknowledge the integration work. I think that's such a pivotal piece. I've seen so many people take the ayahuasca journey, um, you know, to Peru or Costa Rica or somewhere because it's so enticing, and then
Hmm.
they are. I don't mean to laugh, but they're so rudely awakened when the integration they just really fall hard,
Hmm.
right? Because it
Hmm.
breaks them open, but the integration is not there to support their process. So
Yeah.
I
And yeah.
I see that and I appreciate that component of it.
Yeah. It actually can really upend your world and create a
Mhm.
lot of problems. So I will throw that out. Like, if you are doing plant medicine, like the
Yeah.
plant medicine world is an amazing ally to work with. And if you need help integrating what comes through, this is a good path to be on to
Mm.
help really embody and bring it down from those astral realms, from those high, like those really
Yeah.
big perspectives, and bring it into, okay, how does it want to be in my system? How does it live inside of me? So I would definitely recommend this work for people that are working with plant medicine, both to prepare
Mm-hmm.
before plant ceremony so that you can really clear your field to get the most out of it and be available for whatever the plant is there to teach you. And then also post to really help integrate the work after. Without the
Yeah, that's a great
integration,
point.
life can
Yeah.
really get wonky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems very trendy, but it's very powerful and the tool is
Hmm.
there and very powerful for people, but sometimes I feel
Yeah.
like it doesn't come with the proper disclaimer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or just understanding either of really what you're working
Hmm.
with. Yeah.
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 Um, so to wrap up our beautiful conversation today, thank you for your time. Um,
Yeah.
what I'd like to ask all of my guests, what is your unique parting wisdom for our community? And we'll
Hmm.
wrap there.
That's a good question. I would say really practice trusting yourself, practice coming into that place of trust with how you're feeling, trust in even how you're thinking, getting curious around the rubs, getting curious around those patterns and the things that are coming in that just don't feel good to you. And then open up to life to show you the way forward, that's part of it. The other piece is just take the time to relax, take the time to take care of yourself, take the time to trust deeper into life, whatever that looks like for you. Like, what is that truest expression for you? And give yourself permission to live from that place. Yeah. At least that's my
Beautiful.
practice right now.
I love that. We can embody what we teach, right? Or what we can teach what we embody.
Yeah, that's where it's most powerful, actually, I feel.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Val.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. It was so great to be here.